Welcome to the CBT Dive, a vodcast that goes into the lives of real people with real struggles. Each episode welcomes a new guest who wants to explore a challenging situation using the most common cognitive behavioral therapy tool, the thought record. Your host, Raheem Thawa, is a social worker and psychotherapist based in Toronto and well known for his work in LGBTQ communities. He's created the CBT Dive to demystify what therapy can look like and share intervention skills for wellness. We hope that each episode helps you along on your own journey for insight and self-compassion.
All right, welcome to another episode of the CBT Dive. I'm really excited to invite my guest today, Phil, who is in his early 40s and lives in Toronto's gay village. He is Asian Canadian and devotes his time to community activism and working in hospitality. The pandemic has thrown him into existential angst. He is joining us today to explore challenges around career and education. Welcome, Phil. How are you today?
I am good, thank you.
Great. Phil, what do you know about cognitive behavioral therapy?
I know you do it, and I know it's about documenting the inner voice thought processes that surface when we're dealing with an anxious situation or
Yes,
feeling blocks around a feeling when you feel like you're going around in circles and being able to identify what those circular thoughts can be.
totally. You know what? I couldn't have said it better myself. So it's precisely that. We're going to be analyzing some of the thoughts that you might experience as a block. So that's a great way of describing it. Phil, can you see my thought record screen?
I can.
All right, lovely. So I've already punched in the situation here. So you recently found out that you have to start over with grad school, right? For some context, you had connected with the university that you had attended 10 years ago, and you wanted to be reinstated. You had completed about a year and a half's worth of coursework out of 2 years. So you were 3/4 of the way through the program, and you found out just recently that they can't reinstate you because it's been 10 years. When did you find this out?
2 days ago.
Okay. So I think the time reference is important. Let's start with some of the things you've been feeling as you found, like as a result of having found out. Or it could even be feelings you're feeling right now, because you're still, I imagine, grappling with this.
Feelings include feeling foolish.
Okay. So foolish. What other feelings?
Defeated.
Defeated, yes.
Feeling sad.
Yeah.
And disappointed.
Sad and disappointed. Absolutely. Anxious?
Anxious and nervous.
Okay.
Because I had a feeling of confidence. I built up some confidence to approach it, and I think rationally I knew that this could be an outcome, but it also felt that I made a mistake by not accepting a reality before it happened.
Would you, if I were to turn that into a feeling, would that be remorse or regret?
Yeah, remorse, regret, and feeling like I had wasted time, not only time around the application, but time around the past 10 years. And
yeah,
so there's a feeling of grief and regret that I've missed an opportunity. I've missed an opportunity that was available to me.
right. Okay. Well, I have to say it's a tough situation. It's a probably a difficult headspace to be in. Here are the feelings that I've noted, and I can appreciate that they're gonna show up in your mind and your body to different degrees, but there was confidence. So I did put confidence down, even though I'm sure it's not it's not central by any means at the moment. The other feelings I've put down are foolish, defeated, sad, disappointed, nervous, anxious, regret or regretful, and grief. I wonder if there is anything else you'd like to add in terms of feelings that come up for you when you think about, just finding out that you have to start all over and that you won't be reinstated. Is there anger, for example?
There's some anger and some paranoia.
Can you tell me a bit about the paranoia?
That if I'm not admissible, if I wasn't able to finish something successfully in the past, maybe I won't be able to finish it in the future, but also the paranoia of that I am going to be the paranoia being continually rejected, or it brings up future fear of more getting attached to things that I'm going to be rejected from.
Okay. So I'm just gonna, when I asked you to expand on paranoia, the other things that kind of came up, even though you didn't say them explicitly, seem to be doubt, and hopelessness. Would you say those are part of the puzzle here?
Yes.
Okay, so we've listed a good number of feelings. I'm going to go through each one, and I'd like for you to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 means they're particularly intense or the most intense, and 1 would be, not intense at all. Now, this is like how you've been feeling over the last 2 days and even how you're feeling now. So how would you rate your current level of foolishness?
About a 6.
Okay. Feeling defeated, how would you rate that?
A 5.
Feeling sad, how would you rate that?
Over the past 2 days, I'd give it a 6.
Are you averaging it out over the 2 days?
In a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's try this again, because I think averaging something out over 2 days can be tough. Let's assess what it's feeling like now.
Okay.
Right? So give me 1 sec. So I've just put these. So this occurred 2 days ago, but we're going to assess what it feels like now. And that's because it's still fresh enough that it might be useful to talk about where your feelings are at now. So let's just, let's start with sad. Where's your sadness at right now?
Okay, then I would, I'd give it a 5.
Okay. Where's your disappointment at right now?
3.
Nervous?
7.
Anxious?
7.
Regret?
8.
Grief?
8.
Anger?
3.
Paranoia?
5.
Okay. Doubt?
It's a 6.
Hopeless?
5.
Okay. And where is your confidence at? How would you rate your confidence?
5.
Okay. So when finding out this news, what have you been doing since in terms of your behavior? I got a sense that you were maybe ruminating a bit, but it could be ruminating, reflecting. I'm curious to know what you've been doing, maybe drinking, I don't know.
I usually would have had a drink, but funnily, I forgot that I wanted to do that.
Oh, okay.
I went, I ate a lot.
Okay.
And
Did you eat yummy food?
I did eat, I ate like a comfort soup that
Okay.
didn't taste that yummy,
Okay.
but I tried to fix it and I couldn't, so I just ate it. I knew I was fading. I knew I was falling asleep.
Okay.
So my stress response was to get really tired. And unusually go to bed early.
I went to bed early.
Okay. Went to bed early, like at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. And if I'm correct, you had this soup that you didn't actually like.
Yeah, I had a soup I didn't love. And
okay, so had a soup I didn't love, went to bed early. What are one or two more things?
I had a soup I know I can make better, but I couldn't make that happen.
Yeah.
Went to bed early, woke up at 3 a.m., couldn't go back to sleep.
So difficulty staying asleep.
Yes.
And ruminating.
I'd have to look at my dream. Like I take notes on my dreams. So I had a dream about, an ex, and I had a dream about academia, and I think I was in a workshop or something. My notes are blurry, but I know I think they showed up in some dream thoughts. I actually, right before I got the denial, I had an appointment with my astrologer. So within a minute, I had a meeting with somebody else to
process this a little bit.
Process it through my hobby.
Yeah.
Which was really helpful.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to move us over to the next column. Now, the next column is automatic thoughts, right? So your behavior is you had a soup you didn't love. You went to bed early, but you had difficulty staying asleep. You were ruminating. You also talked to your astrologer, which is nice, right? Now, when I think about your thoughts, thoughts can also show up in images, and certainly your dream is a kind of image, right? So I've only noted down that the dream or the images, I know that it's vague, but there's something about academia, delivering or being in a workshop, and an ex-boyfriend. These are the pieces of the puzzle. And I don't know if you remember the details, but I wonder if you remember the consequence in the dream. Like, was it a scary dream? Were you seeing yourself as a failure? Were you seeing yourself as a success? Were you experiencing rejection? What was going on?
There was, it was, there was racing going on, running. There was a feeling of running through an airport going on. There was I feel like there's a sense of urgency because my notes just say racing, airport, submit. I was submitting, I think I was literally submitting something. I think the submission showed up into the dream, the applying for something.
So you were running late.
Across the border, I was running late, and
you were like between cities. Were you in your home city where you go, where the school is, or were you in a different city? I'm just curious about the significance of being between places.
Oh yeah, it could have been Pearson Airport.
Okay. And as you were submitting this thing or racing to submit it, were you coming back to Toronto or leaving Toronto?
I think I was leaving.
Okay. So there's something about going somewhere that seems to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to just leave this image aside for now. We may come back to it. And I want to ask some of your thoughts that might be connected to feeling foolish.
I was chatting with a friend that evening, messaging, and I didn't bring it up, and I still haven't. It's been a conscious choice to not share it.
Okay. And you're thinking, I don't want to share because?
I don't want to share because I don't want to I don't want to share a defeated message.
What do you think they will think when you share a defeated message?
Oh, they would be empathetic. They would be sympathetic. But I don't want that to be my focus.
Okay, so you don't want to tell people you know about this. You don't want people to know about this because they'll empathize while you're feeling defeated. And something about that, it seems like it doesn't fit well for you. You're wanting to stay in this defeated place a little bit longer. Like you're not ready for empathy. And I wonder if that's tied into like there's a kind of harshness that you're having with yourself at the moment, and maybe that's where the regret comes in. So tell me a bit about what you regret.
I regret I regret I regret prioritizing an ex-boyfriend over. I regret allowing a relationship to pull focus at a time when I was previously enrolled in school. I regret. I regret the commitment I made, because this isn't entirely true, but the thought is neither that school commitment or that relationship are serving me in this moment.
So I let a relationship pull me away from school is like this. That's the thought there?
That's the thought.
And I guess the addition to it is, are you saying, and it wasn't worth it?
And
go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, and I'm still not entirely sure why I lost so much steam towards the end of my program. And
okay, I'm going to put that down as a separate thought. I'm not sure why I lost so much steam toward the end of my degree. Tell me a bit about feeling hopeless. When you think about self-doubt, paranoia, the hopelessness, what kinds of thoughts are connected to those feelings? So you feel doubtful about what? Or you feel hopeless about what? Or you feel hopeless or you feel paranoid that's what will happen?
Yeah, that I'm running out of time to really make a meaningful career out of the next few years. I have some doubts, even if once I reapply, where will it take me?
Okay, I'm going to take this a bit further. So when there's a fear of, sorry, say that last part again.
Oh yeah, am I making another mistake?
Okay. So I'm going to write that as a statement. I might be making another mistake by reapplying. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm feeling lost. I'm not sure what the direction is.
Okay. So when you talk about running out of time to make a meaningful career, tell me a bit about that. Like there's some context there that I think there's thoughts, ideas, assumptions, a framework in your mind about when people work, when people establish careers that I need you to help clue me into. So why is it that you're running out of time?
Because I'm mid-40s.
Okay.
And
did you envision yourself retiring at 65? Is that why?
Because I think that there's not as much time as there used to be to build something and get accredited and to build an expertise around a field. And
yeah. Okay, I appreciate that a lot.
Risks. I have less time to take risks. Just because of age and time and finances and
yeah. Fair. So when I think about I'm running out of time to make a meaningful career, under that is, well, there's not as much time. I don't have as much time as I once had to build expertise. Okay, and there's less time to take risks. So if those are true, that your time for risk taking is all but over, and you have to make really solid decisions now, and there might not be enough time for you to build an expertise, what is the consequence of that for your future, your career?
Yeah, and also knowing that people can start things and be successful at things that they've started in their 40s, but not knowing what that could be.
Yes, so that's the uncertainty. But I'm going to bring you back to this idea, like that you had presented, that you don't have as much time as you once had to build an expertise. And I'm saying, well, if that's true, then Phil, tell me, what's the consequence of that? I'm trying to further this thought a bit.
Okay.
So if you can't build an expertise in a particular area, then what will happen?
Then I'll have failed.
So I'll be a failure.
Yeah.
And can you tell me quickly, how do you define failure? Is it like money, stability, prestigious job title? What kinds of failure?
That I've had access to opportunity, and and the time just passed, and I don't have an organization or a job title or some savings or any asset or a family or any type of legacy
Okay.
to show for it. Like not even a website, like kind of no digital footprint to represent anything that can be tied to any feeling of it feels very
accomplishment.
Yeah, accomplishment.
Okay, so I want to go back to this thought that you had, that I let a relationship pull me away from school. Tell me a bit about this. So this is clearly tied to the regret. But if you made a decision at the time to prioritize your relationship over school, what does that say about you as a person? Or what do you think that says about you as a person? What do you think other people will think that says about you as a person?
At the time, I felt really empowered around it. That I thought it was a very reasonable choice to take a break. Take a break from school and to strive for something that I wanted to accomplish. Back then, I wanted to accomplish a stable relationship. I thought that's what I wanted.
Okay, and
I thought that would be rejuvenating.
Okay.
and
And
exciting. Instead, it was depleting, and I didn't realize how much I didn't stop myself from investing a lot into it, a lot of time, money, and resources, and career instability into it.
Okay, so the way I'm writing that out, and you tell me if this resonates with you, because I want to make sure it's like it fits for you. So you let this relationship pull you away from school, and if that's true, or what does that say about you? The judgment or the evaluation you have of yourself is that, well, I didn't stop myself from investing in a relationship despite the ongoing cost. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask you a similar question to build off of that. So I didn't stop myself from investing in in the relationship despite the ongoing cost. And so what does that say about you as a person in terms of someone who makes decisions or somebody who prioritizes? What does it say about your ability to do those things?
Poor, and the things that I think are in my best interests don't turn out to be in my best interests.
So I'm going to say it a bit shorter. I don't always know or trust that I know what's in my best interest. Okay. And if you don't always know or trust that you know what's in your best interest, where could that lead you? Where would be the ultimate place that could take you?
Perpetual failure, perpetual mistakes.
Sorry, what was the last thing you said? Perpetual
mistakes. Perpetual disappointment, realizing something that I was really committed to was not serving me. Or didn't have my back.
So I might continue to invest in things that don't serve me. And this, I think, is like, if we were to say, like, what does that mean? What is the meaning of this? I think it goes back to this idea that you worry that you don't always know or trust that you know what's in your best interest. So, some of the other things you've said, actually quite valuable as well. But I'm just going to do a bit of rearranging on this thought record so we can get everything onto one screen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just more because I ideally would like to analyze all of these thoughts, but I don't think we're going to be able to. And so I just want to put on the screen the ones that I do want you to look at. So the dream and the image, right? Starting, like, it's making a lot more sense to me. I don't know if it has illuminated anything for you, right? You're talking about academia and your ex-boyfriend, and you're running through the airport, you're racing to submit something, and you're leaving, you're going somewhere, right? So I would presume, if I were to make sense of that, the dream is about the tension between two different priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, here are some of your automatic thoughts, right? I let a relationship pull me away from school. I didn't stop myself from investing in a relationship despite the ongoing cost. I don't always know or trust that I know what's in my best interest. I could be destined for perpetual mistakes and disappointment. I might continue to invest in things that don't serve me. I'm running out of time to make a meaningful career. I don't have as much time as I once had to build expertise. There's less time to take risks. I'll be a failure because I let opportunities pass, and I won't have a legacy. I'm just going to shift that here because I did type that out incorrectly. Won't have a legacy. Now, as you look at all of these thoughts, Phil, I would love for you to just read them, meditate on them for a moment. I want you to tell me which one thought do you think is most salient, most prominent? Because that's going to be your hot thought. The hot thought is the one that you think is driving or most central to most of the feelings you put in the feelings column.
The feeling of time, the thought about time, and not knowing what the choice is in this moment. That's ultimately fulfilling.
Yeah. Okay, so we're focusing on the second half, right? That I'm running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you also mentioned that, you've let opportunities pass. And there's this something about a legacy. And I wonder if you can tell me about what your dream is around the legacy. What do you want to contribute? What do you want to leave behind? Tell me a bit about why your mind goes there, or what it goes to when you think about legacy.
Oh, I think of, having run a project successfully that is ongoing and can have life after contributed to it, been a part of its design, been a part of its maintenance.
And why is that important to you, or what does it say about you if you're not able to do that?
Yeah, it goes back to, but I must have learned a lot of things over the years, and now stuck in how to apply them, and where do I like how many I feeling like I don't have that much more time to pick up more skills, or there are things that I'm just not going to be good at. And am I going to spend, how much more time am I going to spend investing in things that I am going to not not do well in, or not excel?
Yeah.
So there's the fear of not acing it.
So there's less time to take risks and invest in things that I won't ace. You're also thinking like, hey, I've learned a lot, but don't know how to apply this now. And I'm guessing there's a sense that what you've learned is either not enough or not applicable. Which one is it?
It's about, it's about other people hiring me. It's partly about not having to even getting stuck on this sentence. I'm not sure. I guess I'm feeling a block around it.
Okay. And so the block is, I'm trying to understand it. If I were to put words to it, it's like we're talking about employability, who would hire you. And I'm thinking the thought here is I know a lot, and yet I don't know what I have to offer.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to rephrase it a bit to say, I don't know if that I have anything or enough to offer. And let's just say it's an employer, but it could also be in academia. It could be in a relationship. It could be in so many things, right? That those kinds of feelings usually carry through. Okay, so would I be correct in assuming, and you could say no, but would I be correct in assuming that this last statement you just shared, like, I don't know that I have anything or enough to offer? Do you think that's the salient thought? Is that the one that's really at the core of a lot of this? Or is it that, like, you could still pick another one, like, I'll be a failure because I let opportunities pass, for example. We know that whatever you're going to pick is going to be in the second half of the automatic thoughts.
Yeah. 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 And there's also like the practical things of, I don't know what I have anything to offer. And also I don't know like how much money I'm going to be able to invest in becoming a better person or a better, like I'm caught around some financial things, but
okay. And your financial resources are more limited now than they were at an earlier time in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just adding to one of the thoughts that you have already, like, I don't know that I have anything or enough to offer an employer, for example, and my financial resources are limited now. Would you say that is?
Yeah, just limited in terms of finances and time. Coming back to the idea of limitations is recurring.
Okay. All right, I've bolded that last thought. So I don't know that I have anything or enough to offer an employer, and my resources are limited now, and that means financial and time. So
yeah,
we are going to evaluate this, right? These are the things you're struggling with. They're at the core of a lot of the feelings you're experiencing. Let's evaluate evidence for the hot thought. The hot thought's the one that's bolded, right? So what is some evidence that does suggest, that does support the idea that you might not know enough, or you might not have much to offer an employer, or that you have limited resources? This should be easy for you, actually, because you've named a lot of those things. Right? So go ahead, let me know.
Okay. Evidence would be my bank account.
It's wearing thin, is it?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
And it's on social assistance, which is which it's grateful for.
Yes. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
What about evidence that you don't know enough?
I don't know enough. But getting a refusal also is kind of validates that I'm not, like, my experience is not applicable in this moment. I do need to retrain. I do need to, the credits don't count anymore. The institution says no. Try again and reinvest.
Yeah. Yeah. And what have your experiences been around attempting to find employment? Has that been something that you have been doing or have had the opportunity to do? I know we're in a pandemic, so lots of people have not.
Yeah. Well, I'm relying on older skill sets than more recent work experiences, because the industry has shifted, or the hospitality industry has shifted. When I made a change, it means I'm rusty around things that I was more qualified for 10 years ago. So I'm in a position to look for work based on experiences that aren't gone, but knowledge that isn't gone, but it's knowledge that it hasn't been as directly applied or nurtured.
Yeah. So now we're going to do something slightly different. It's the other side of that. So evidence that does not support the hot thought. So evidence that suggests that you know something, or you know enough to offer an employer, and that perhaps your resources could be enough, even though they're limited, that they could be enough, right? So is there some evidence that suggests that?
Yes. I have been reaching out to old employers and references and receiving some positive regard and employment potential.
So your old employers have been happy to give you a reference?
Happy to give a reference and team up again on old projects, things that we worked on years ago.
Okay, and so they're offering to collaborate with you. That's a good sign. What else suggests that you know enough to offer an employer, or that your time and resources could be enough?
That that a lot of people are having to retrain. And
so,
there is a demand for people to get there are a lot of people who are having to face this also.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Because I think when you think about time and money being limited, like, of course, I don't want to deny that, like, objectively, you're experiencing some limitations. You might have less of something than you once did. Like that's maybe an objective mathematical measurement, but our sense of resources is also perceptual to some degree. And when we start to think about, hey, other people have to spend this time midlife also retraining, it doesn't feel like you run out of time or miss the boat necessarily, but more so that, retraining is part of the career trajectory. It's like a normal part of the career trajectory. Any other examples of you knowing enough or knowing a lot? Do you have expertise in any particular area you think that would impress an employer, or that would be helpful if you wanted to reapply to grad school?
I've made pretty long-standing commitments to like community-based projects,
Mm-hmm.
despite it being very varied. I've always maintained that.
Yeah. So I've made significant contributions to community-based projects in the, would you say in the past?
Yeah.
Okay. So so your knowledge is valued.
Yeah. I can appreciate the things that I've been able to get to do, and the things that the types of learning experiences I've been able to get to gain.
Yes.
And still not know. And I'm able to rely on things I did 10 years ago to help me regroup in this current moment also. So those things.
What are those things? Are those skills, knowledge, experiences?
Skills, knowledge, some short contracts.
Experiences from the past are still relevant today. So now we've moved into the next column, which is alternative thoughts, right? These are alternative or balanced thoughts that are in response to this idea that I don't know that I have anything or enough to offer, and my time and resources could be limited, right? So you're saying my skills, knowledge, and experiences from the past are still relevant today. And, to be fair, and there's always more to learn, right? What's another alternative thought you can come up with that you think would be quite helpful when you think, you're at the bottom of the barrel here and you're like, you know what? I don't know if I have anything to offer. What can you tell yourself?
Maybe the way through this is the way the other way is I didn't make a mistake, that I was able to keep reinventing, and I'll keep doing that again. And
I did a lot of reinventing, and this doesn't speak directly to the hot thought, but it does seem to speak to another one of your automatic thoughts, which is about mistakes. So I did a lot of reinventing. What do you mean by reinventing?
Like change careers, change directions, change relationships. It's, a possible thought is like maybe the better options are gone, and now the worry is that I missed out some opportunities that I won't ever get back again. Those won't return, so I'm gonna have to feel satisfied with whatever comes next.
Is there a sense about like the opportunities that have passed? Do you feel like I can appreciate that maybe you feel like they're gone for good, but are there is there some value in having more limited opportunities, because you are also worried about going in the wrong direction, making mistakes, for example, right? And so I wonder if there's fewer opportunities, that means there's fewer directions. And so fewer opportunities could actually be like less choice, easier to make decisions. What do you think?
Yeah, it's possible that yeah, it's possible that you know, the time that I'm taking to figure out what to do next is something that I didn't take previously, and
Mm-hmm.
it's possible that having less choices will taking the time now is gonna pay off later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Having this amount of time now
Yes.
versus having jumped into some things more quickly
Now
previously.
Could pay off later. So yeah, so there's some caution, right? So the time I have now could pay off later, as in I'm specifically not jumping into things for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're treating, like, I'm just gonna put in brackets here, I'm treating time differently. Or I'm learning to treat time differently. So we've got quite a few alternative thoughts. I'm going to read them out, okay? My skills, knowledge, experiences from the past are still relevant today, and there's always more to learn. The second one, changing directions wasn't about mistakes, it was about reinventing. The third one, having fewer options at my age could mean choosing my direction is easier, or my next step is easier. And the final thought, the time I have now could pay off later. I'm specifically not jumping into things for a reason. I'm learning to treat time differently. Yeah. Which one of these do you think is most satisfying to you? Which of these alternative thoughts do you believe the most? Which one do you think responds best to, you know, your anxiety, your sense of feeling defeated, your grief, or your regret?
Yeah, there is a thought about, you know, the things that I have access to now, some kind of regular counseling or some more health support I wish I had earlier. And maybe had I had those things, I might have made clearer choices. But
so that, okay, so
yeah, or sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's, you know what, I think when we complete this thought record, that's a function of remorse or regret that we'll come back to. I think we should talk about that at the end. But at this stage of this thought record, I'm going to ask that we think about not new alternative thoughts, but which of the existing alternative thoughts in that seventh column that really speak to you.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a silver bullet. You just have to think about which of these thoughts do I believe, and which one resonates with me? Which one is likely to be most helpful for me to think about?
The one about having fewer options at my age can mean choosing my direction is easier.
Okay. Good. So I'm going to bold that. That one is the alternative thought you're thinking about. It doesn't mean the other thoughts aren't helpful, right? But this is the one that I think is it's poignant and it's very relevant, right? Your hot thought is that I don't know what I have to offer, but a big part of it is also like, I don't know about my resources and I can't afford to make mistakes and this kind of thing. And you're actually saying, you're talking about the benefits of your age, right? Choosing your next step could be easier. You're more focused now. And so I want to go through your list of feelings again. And new feelings might also emerge, and there'll be space for that. But I want you to think about your alternative thought. Having fewer options at my age could mean choosing my direction is easier. How would you rate this feeling of being foolish? 1 to 10.
Oh,
Does it go down? Does it stay the same?
it's just gone, you know.
Oh, okay. So 1 or 0?
Yeah, 1 or 0.
Okay.
It
Okay.
just it doesn't matter.
Yeah. How about feeling defeated?
Doesn't serve me. Defeated. Yeah, still a 5.
What about feeling sad?
Sad. Yeah, it's still a 5.
No problem. And there's no pressure for these numbers to go in any particular way. We're just reflecting on where it's at. So when you tell yourself having fewer options at my age could mean choosing my direction is easier, where's your level of disappointment?
Yeah, that gets higher, actually.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
You would give it did you say 5?
5, yeah.
Okay. Nervous?
Nervous, like 3. That one goes
Anxious?
down. 3.
Okay. Regret?
That one goes, that's a 5.
Okay. Grief?
Also 5.
Anger?
1.
Paranoia?
1.
Doubt?
1.
Hopeless?
1.
Confidence?
It goes up a bit. I think it goes up to a 6.
Okay. Are there new feelings that emerge for you when you say, you know what, having fewer options at my age could mean choosing my new direction or my next step is easier?
Some relief.
Yeah, totally. Anything else?
It means like less worried. That's relief. It's not peace of mind. It's more
calm.
There is a feeling of surrender in there.
And surrender is kind of like acceptance, right? So I'll put both of those in.
Yeah.
There is. Sorry, go ahead.
Renewal.
I'll take it.
And there's a feeling of it's, whatever I'm going to go for is going to have an element of passion to it. So feeling passionate about whatever is the next thing. And
feeling like you have, like when you talk about the next thing, it seems like you're thinking more that like you have options. That the idea that you have options hasn't been extinguished. It's still there, right? And when I think about options, the feeling I'm thinking is like potential or possibility or optimism?
Some optimism, still some fear that I'm going to have to be the one to find it. And I
Yes.
sometimes feel I don't have all the skills to find, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not the one to find out my next step. Maybe I need more help or someone to help me do that, or
Yeah.
help me, because left on my own, I have a limited
Mm.
vantage point.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stop you there. I think so I'm going to share a couple of things that stood out for me in this process now that we've come to the end. And then of course, I want to hear from you. So first I'm going to talk about your feelings list in the situation compared to your present feelings. So a lot of your feelings that have to do with shame or embarrassment, like being foolish, for example, or the paranoia or doubt, like those went down quite a bit.
Yeah.
Disappointment went up. And I think that's valid, right? Like, I think when we take the shame away, the things that you're ashamed of, where you feel foolish and defeated and you're, paranoid and full of self-doubt, to me, those are all functions of shame. And when we take that out of the picture or contain it a bit, we can just focus on the disappointment and the grief. You're sad. Like you had an idea about what you could do. You're grieving time lost. Now, I don't think the last 10 years were time lost, but I can appreciate that the year and a half that you spend in school out of a 2-year program, of course, that's going to feel crappy, right? Like that time does feel like a loss. It also seems to me like, you were somebody who made bold decisions. It takes a lot of bravery to say, you know what? I'm going to follow my love and I'm going to follow my dream. And I want this relationship to work. And you felt pulled by two things. We don't know that if you finished school and you sacrificed your relationship, we don't know that today you wouldn't be here feeling like, that guy in your life was the one who got away. you know
Mm-hmm.
the other thing I just want to mention is that you know uh there is lots of stuff you said that to me um coincides with the pressures of or the challenges that come with aging ever so slowly. Like you're in your mid 40s, like I think you're still quite young, but I think there's something developmental happening where you're doing a lot of comparison with other people. And you didn't mention that in the thought record, but when you talk about a legacy, that's one thing that stood out for me. I thought, oh, I wonder if Phil is really thinking about himself relative to other people and this idea of what he leaves behind. You talked about like, oh, I don't have kids, or I don't have that, or I don't have that. And to me, I wondered if there was a kind of comparison going on. The final thing I want to share is that when we contain some of the immediate feelings and we think about the power you have in your wisdom as somebody who's in his mid 40s, as opposed to somebody you were, 10 years ago in your mid 30s or early 30s, when we can really see the wisdom in that, that's when you can experience some relief, calm, surrender, acceptance, renewal, passion, and optimism, right? There's a kind of angstiness or risk-taking energy that is just, it's not present now. And you, I imagine you had it in your mid 30s and it made things easier. And it's okay that you don't have that now. Like I think your life is, it's taking on a different tone at the moment, right? And I'd love to invite you to tell me some of your reflections on this process, and what it's been like for you.
I like that it's clear. I
Mhm.
like that the thoughts are summarized and organized, and as you know, there's a single page that things can land on. And I do like the feelings list, that before and after. There is a feeling of like evidence of a shift, for sure.
There was also one thing you brought up that I kind of pushed to the side, which was, I have more resources now than I did then, or more supports. And then there was also like, you were going into regret. Like, I wish I had some of the supports in place then. And I sidestep that a bit, because I think that would be its own automatic thought in maybe a different situation. So I think that requires slightly different analysis. So that's why I sidestep that.
Yeah. I mean, that is, I guess that's part of the learning over the past 10-ish years, about how valuable it is to have some supports that didn't exist back then.
Yes.
And I mean, I would like to think of myself like the feeling of brave. I would, if that's a feeling, I would like to add to it.
Yes.
Some
bravery.
Some of the salient thoughts are some of the things that you were able to tease out of the things that I was saying, or some of the reflections you had on what I was saying. And not necessarily the vocabulary that I would use, so it's helpful.
Well, when I look at automatic thoughts, one of my goals is to turn them all into statements that begin with I, mostly, because I'm thinking about what your thoughts are, but also what your thoughts are in this situation, but what are some like beliefs you have, right? And to do this exercise, for the evidence pieces to make sense, we have to stick to one hot thought. But it did seem to me, by the time we got to the alternative thought, that we were picking one that spoke to your hot thought, but maybe also spoke to some of your other automatic thoughts, which tells me that you're experiencing a few thoughts all together, and that's okay. That's okay. There's a number of things going on. There's a few threads here.
Yeah. As we went along, my mind started racing, so it was harder for me to get clear. So it was helpful to have somebody helping me get clear or documenting, because it was easier at the beginning for sure.
It's
and then as that
a tiring process.
Yeah. I started to get overwhelmed.
Yeah. All right, Phil. I'm gonna let's stop there for today. I want to thank you so much for joining me on this vodcast, the CBT Dive. I hope this has been a fruitful and useful opportunity for you, and has given you some skills and insight, and maybe even given you some more self-compassion as you move forward. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in and staying with the process. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the CBT Dive. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at thecbtdive.ca. You can also listen on the go, wherever you get your podcasts. To follow Rahim on social media, check out ladyativan.com. See you soon.